as a big piece of fabric. And then start pinning. I like doing these videos in real time because I think there are a lot of people who underestimate the amount of time it takes to make a nice garment. I don't like to do fast through videos, so to speak, because I think it's good for people who want to learn how to sew to have an understanding of what it is that they're getting into, and you'll either love it as you do it or you'll grow impatient and it won't be for you. I actually love it. I find it calming. It's a nice hobby. You can make beautiful things for a fraction of the price you'd have to pay for them. If you have the patience for sewing, I highly recommend that you learn. This is my tilt again, so you just saw me realign my fabric to make sure that I got the tilt correctly. Okay, now I'm going to match up my hem down here so that I don't end up with a weird hem. Okay. And I'll put 2 pins down there. Then I'm going to rearrange this so that I can ease in the fullness. Okay, that looks pretty good. Pin it in the middle, and then pin those middles. And then pin those middles. Whoop, didn't need that. Okay. Okay. You can put in more pins if you want to. I feel like I need just 1 or 2 more on this piece because it's getting to be a fairly large piece of fabric. So I'm going to do just a few more. Okay, now I feel comfortable with sewing this. Five-eighths stitch from the top to the bottom, always checking to make sure that you don't grab more fabric than you should. I know I'm like a broken record saying that, but when you have to take stitches out and you put holes in pieces of your fabric that aren't supposed to be there, that is such a sad day. All right. So, this is our back piece thus far. We have zipper, and then we have piece 5 sewn to that. Can you see through my arm? Probably not. Okay, so the next step, which is also still part of step 6, unfortunately, we are now going to stitch side back 6 sections to side edges of middle back. So we just did the back and sewed the middle back to the back. Now we're sewing the side back to the middle back. And that is piece 6. So let me move this pattern, which we're now done with, and bring over piece 6. Keeping my pattern over here for reference. So let's lay this out, right sides up. Need a bigger table now. So right sides up. And then here are my 2 piece 6. And you can see your square cut off again. And you've got 2 of these on there. This one has both of those, so be careful. You'll want to match up your notches. So this one I can see, when I say square pieces, this is what I'm talking about, where it's V-shaped and then all of a sudden you have a square insert, and V-shaped and all of a sudden square insert. So just check to make sure that you have those together and that when you put them together, your notches match up. So I have both of my 6s here. I only need one. And since I have to sew the right sides together, this one I don't need right now. I need this one. So, square pieces together. Notch. Does the notch meet? Yes, it does. And that's where I'm going to stitch. So let me start pinning this. Okay, then I'm going to match my tilt, which is about here. Yes. Right there. Okay. And I can tell on this one, because I want my tilt to match, I've got a little bit extra fabric over here in this one piece. So I'm going to fit that extra fabric in. Okay. And this one I will pin a little bit more just because I can feel that it needs it. Okay. All right, then match up the hem. All right. Going to pin a little bit further down from that tilt, maybe 2 or 3 pins. Okay, and grab this larger section, and then I'm going to do my middle pinning. And actually that laid flat almost perfectly, so I'm going to start pinning that. Pin from the middle, and pin in the middle of those middles. Okay. Looks like down here I have a bit of extra fabric, so I am going to put 1 or 2 more pins in down there. Okay, now I'm going to stitch this. Five-eighths seam. And here comes the tilt. Start tilting. Okay. Always checking your fabric to make sure you only have the 2 pieces. finish up sewing your back pieces together. So let's take a look. I'll actually zip it up here. Be careful when you're zipping, don't catch your fabric. Okay. And here's what we have so far. So here's my back section with that piece put in. Okay. Now you're going to add that same piece to the other side. So let me go ahead and grab my other piece 6. Matching your squares, matching your notch, right sides together. And start pinning. And find your tilt. Tilt's been a little bit trickier with these pieces. There we go. Okay. So this one I just had to stretch it just a tiny bit, just barely, but once I did, I could see where the tilts just instantly matched up. Which means once again I have a little bit more fabric to fit into this piece. So I will use a lot of pins on this upper part again, just to fit in that extra bit of fabric so that it looks nice once I finish stitching it. Okay, match up your hems. Put in 1 or 2 pins at the bottom. And then match up your large piece. Okay. Pin from the middle. Pin the middle. And pin the middle. And yeah, I would say of all the pieces that we sewed so far, pinning piece 5 and 6 together was a bit more laborious. Just after that, pin as you need, however many you need. Okay, now we're ready to sew that. 5/8 seam. You're working with a really big piece of fabric now, so make sure that you're not catching other bits of fabric underneath. Reposition as you go. I just said it is a very large piece of fabric now, so be careful. There's my tilt. This is actually so big now that I want to grab it from the inside and just make sure. Yes, that is easier to stitch like that, holding from underneath. Give your machine room to do its work. Okay, now that's done. This is probably a good time for you to look at your bobbin. Mine still has some thread on it and it's doing okay, but you do want to check, especially as you're sewing large, long pieces like this, to make sure that you are not working with an empty bobbin. So check your bobbin every now and then. Make sure you're still supplied. And here we go. This is now the complete back. The completed back piece. So there we go. Very cute. Love my birds. Very, very happy with my bird fabric selection. Okay, now I am going to take a break and have a cup of coffee, and then we'll be back to work on the next part.